Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DcHahn. I'm the CEO, founder, chief cook and bottle washer of S3 Productions. And you are actually witnessing history today because this is my first Zoom announcement. And it's kind of an important thing. And I wanted to share it with Mr. Armando F. Sanchez of AFS Productions, because he's the guy who got me hooked into all this in the first place. And he takes all the blame for all this mass craziness.
Hey, easy.
About 2 years ago, I retired from teaching. And so prior to that, I was big into doing 7-8 RPM record shows on Blog Talk Radio. And if you go back to the old radio days, kind of like radio shows of the past, kind of being my own internet radio disc jockey. And it's been a 2-year pause for a variety of reasons, of which I don't really want to get into right now. But I wanted to sort of make the announcement, and Mr. Sanchez, thank you again for joining me as I do this, that starting basically yesterday, we are going to reintroduce S3 Productions' Forgotten Music on 7-8 RPM records. And I sort of want to make that announcement.
So tell me, what exactly is a 78 record?
Well, if you go back pre-CDs, pre-cassettes, pre-8 tracks, and pre-33 1/3 long play records, a 78 record is a 10-inch disc, roughly 1/8 of an inch thick, one song, one side. And it plays
out for the whole side?
Huh?
One song for that whole side?
One song, one side.
Wow.
And each song is about 3 minutes long. And it plays at 7-8 RPM. Remember, we're going back to technology 1900s to 1958 before it died out. So this is pre. You know,
well, isn't this vinyl record thing coming back?
Vinyl is coming back. These will never come back. This is old. I mean, they're old, they're brittle. I had a hairline crack in one. I picked it up and looked at it, and the record just literally fell in half. Remember, the LPs are 12 inches, and there's about 7-8 songs per side. One song, one side.
Wow.
And if you turn on the old movies and they have the record player with the big old horn, that's the old 78 records.
Wow.
I got hooked onto them because my dad collected them, and that was his thing. And then when he passed away, my mom had these boxes of these old records, and a lot of music I never heard of. Never heard of the musicians, never heard the music, nothing. And it was a curiosity thing. What's on this record? And I go back to this one. All right. This one happens to be Duke Ellington. And we've all heard of Duke Ellington. What makes this record unique is side one, side two. First half a song, second half a song. So for me, I got into it for the curiosity factor. What's on these records? And growing up with records, and I'm sure you remember this when you play the records, there's a certain amount of noise, hiss, crackle, static. There's a certain amount of noise that goes along with it. And if that's what you grew up with, that's what a record sounded like.
Right.
When CDs came in, they got rid of all that. They digitally remastered everything, and they sound pristine and clean. Now, I won't get into the argument which is better. But records sound like records, and CDs sound like CDs. And my goal has always been to restore the record so it sounds like a record, so that you can hear what's going on, but it doesn't sound like a CD. I want it to sound old. You know, Uh,
When they were manufactured back then, I'm sort of probing here a
yeah.
little bit. When you bought a brand new record, i.e., like the one you showed me,
Mhm.
did it already have those sounds in it? Just simply because of the technology and the needle that was on it, or it sort of became so easy to scratch the record that after a while you just expected the noise to be there.
That's a good question. I don't know. If you bought a brand new LP and played it with a brand new needle on a brand new turntable, it probably sounded really, really good. And then every time you played it after there, it just went, you know,
You literally scratched the record and you
yeah.
put scratches into it.
And the records here, of course, these are not in any pristine condition at all. These are records that have been
They've
around.
seen they've seen their days. Huh?
They have seen their days and their days, and but
So approximately how many of these records do you think you have?
according to my wife, way too many. Maybe 1,000 of them total.
Whoa.
Uh,
How many have you posted it already?
600-700 of them. Because again, I don't remember, because I got some at home and some in storage, and several gigabytes worth of data on my computer. I don't know.
What happens every time you play it?
They get worse. Remember, these are not pristine records. Some of these, I've had records fall apart on me. Some I can't restore. Some are just so far beyond hope that it's not going to happen. But part of the joy of doing it is, for some people, this brings back memories. That's the song that Grandma got married to, or Uncle Joe, and that would play that at his funeral. They bring back those memories of those times, complete with the sound, and that's what I'm after. And sometimes the song titles just sound way cool, you know. I did one a couple of days ago that the title of the song was called Deep Purple. Now, if you go back into rock and roll history, Deep Purple was an English rock and roll band in the 60s and the 70s. But the song Deep Purple was a jazz album from 1950 something. But the name, Deep Purple versus Deep Purple.
Are these records in a particular, forgive my ignorance, are they of a particular kind of music, i.e. jazz or, big band, or is it a mixture?
It's a little bit of everything. The jazz, R&B, big band, swing music, country, western. I have a friend of mine who teaches in Montebello, and I make a big joke. The more yodeling in a country song, the better he likes it. I mean, that's just, and part of the joy is finding those off the wall, the more obscure, the better songs, I can find Benny Goodman, Bing Crosby, I can find those anywhere. I'm looking for Harvey Humplestump and the Wee Jumpers. I mean, just that weird, just that weird stuff,
That one song that never did anything else ever in their lives, huh?
Yeah, well, I do that for two reasons. One is copyright issues. If I play Frank Sinatra or something like that, somebody liable to get way out of shape. But if I'm playing that one song that nobody's ever heard of by a guy who's been dead for 30, 40, 50 years plus, chances are they're not going to come after me for copyright violations. At least not yet. So, but again,
is there a like you said, you've probably gone through about 600 of them. Would you say there's one or two that for some bizarre reason stand out in your mind?
Oh, the one I remember the most right now is called The Cable Car Song, written by some guy up in the Bay Area about cable cars driving through San Francisco. Um, I don't know, there's that's the only one that just comes to mind right this minute.
Well, you grew up in that area, right?
Yeah,
So
but you know, it's part of the joy of. I just looked over across my other computer, and a record picture came up of Hank Williams Sr. doing jambalaya on 78. Okay, well, Hank Williams Jr. has done jambalaya on cassette and CD, and Hank Williams III has done it on digital. So you see that progression, if you will. And that's what got me started way back when. And again, it's been on hiatus for a couple of years, and I'm sort of getting back into it now.
So are you a musical aficionado, or is this at a different level?
I couldn't tell you enough about music to tell you anything other than, you know, I couldn't tell you anything about the music. I can tell you who made it, the record album, the story behind it, or stories behind it. I liked it, I didn't like it. Or, hey, this record really was badly scratched up and dinged up, and I cleaned it up the best I could to see if I could. The ones I don't like, I just sort of
Never saw
that. Never saw that before. You know.
So how do your viewers learn about, you know, like myself? How do I learn to find your series?
Well, on Facebook, I have it's Forgotten Music on 78 RPM Records on Facebook. That's my main source of distribution, if you will. I haven't quite got back into doing video to YouTube. I'm still working. Remember, it's been a couple of years, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So I got to go out and work my way back on how to. It's like Zoom. This is a part of the process of how do I relearn how to do all this, you know, which is actually part of the fun.
Sure.
You know,
I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, it's like sound restoration. You get a certain amount of joy when you can fix it so it sounds fairly good, you know. And of course, then you always got the guy out there in cyberland who, how dare you fix that? And yeah. You know, you have mutilated great music. And it's like, you know, oh well.
One of many sins you've committed.
One of several sins that I have committed in my life, yeah. But I take the opinion that, you know, hey, this is my show, and if you don't like it, then there's a million more out there, and go knock yourself out.
So is there a sort of a email I can use to get a hold of you and say, hey, you know, have you played this, or can you find it, or just dialogue about this?
My email is oscssw@juno.com. If you go to DcHahn on Facebook, you can direct mail through Facebook. I'm always looking for that challenge. Can I find that record? And part of what happens is I'm looking for something real quick. All right. There's a story behind these records, you know, believe it or not. Went to the Friends of the Library bookstore in Whittier, and the guy says, you're into amateur radio? I go, yeah, sort of. And he says, well, I have something for you. Now, I don't know how well you can read that.
Yeah, a Meco code course.
Okay, well, this is how to teach Morse code. And this is how they did it on 78 RPM records back before they had all the latest in technology. I'm going to take a quick detour. You've all seen a record album. A record album is a piece, you know, cardboard with a LP stuck between it. One record, X amount of songs. Well, in the 78 world, this is an album.
Jeez.
And you have records. You have an album and you have the records. A friend of mine we were joking about learning Morse code. So he says, well, because he has something very similar. He says, can you play that and then transcribe it over to a CD? And of course, gee, I wonder if that's what got me into this. Gee, I wonder if I can do that. And so I did that and transcribed those into a CD, and I passed them out. And that's kind of what got me back into, I can do this. I remember how to, and it sort of got back into, I miss this. I miss this, because it's not whether you like the song or not. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it because I enjoy it and I'm sharing it, You're not going to appease everybody, and I don't plan on appeasing everybody, but if you write back and say that sucks, hey, at least there's somebody listened. Hey, this is cool. Somebody hates me. Hey, I'm being noticed. you know.
Well, you seem very energized about doing it. And, a lot of times I hear the idea that people retire and they get their brains get mushy and they start saying, well, there's nothing to do out in the world. But it seems like you discovered a new level of activity here that makes you reach the world.
Well, that's part of the goal is I had a deal. I used to keep track of it. I don't have it with me. But Blog Talk Radio had a deal where it would tell you the country that somebody heard your song. Now, maybe one person, one time in one country, but somebody heard it. And so I started tracking that over, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years. And I can honestly say there's 200 countries in the world, and I've hit 190 plus.
Wow.
At least one person on some rock, someplace heard one song. And you talk about hitting the world, whether they liked it or not, I don't know, but it was kind of cool to actually track, and I'm a firm believer in armchair traveling. This is just a way to travel without leaving home, if you will.
Yeah, this new technology allows us to travel
Yeah.
around the world 24/7.
And to me, this is a medium to do that. The challenge again, can I restore the song? Who is that guy? And then you start reading the history of some of these people and you find out, hey, that guy is so-and-so's father, and that guy's now an actor someplace, or a big shot someplace, but his dad or mom did this. And if you read any kind of history, almost of any genre, you find out that after a while, all these cosmic dots connect in weird and strange ways. And you go, I heard that before, And I don't know, maybe it's just mental deficiency on my part. I don't know.
Well, I think if it's gives us a creative outlet, I figure why not do it?
Yeah. But and I also sort of wanted to mention that there's a talk now that I want to go back and do. I want to basically get back into internet radio. And if you remember growing up as a kid, you would turn on station XYZ and somebody would come up and you would spend all afternoon or all morning listening to this guy talk about local stuff, And I kind of want to do that again, where I can talk to, tell stories about whatever I feel like talking about, and just, have a discussion about whatever, And there's a
sort of
kid.
a open mic approach.
Yeah. I say this with tongue firmly in cheek. I'm not here to be controversial or political but if you discover a great coffee donut shop down where you're at, that should be shared, You know, stories of, just stories of people, because there's a world being lost with lack of storytelling.
Totally agree. Totally
And,
agree. People are taking their wonderful stories with them, and that shouldn't be.
Yeah. I go back to veterans, as one example. Think of your grandparents or your family members who are getting up in age, who, when they go, there's a whole storyline that disappears. And that's one of the reasons I get so excited when somebody says, Grandma got married to that or something, We played that at our wedding, or it may not mean anything to me, but it means a world to something to somebody.
But you made a connection with those individuals.
Yeah, and that's and all from old records that, you yeah. My wife thinks she's cursed, but But anyway,
well, your work. I mean, thank you for informing me of that. And but I really do think that you serve a mission to people to stir up our memories and make us remember and appreciate, our lives.
And part of it is, what's the old story? It's not the destination, it's the journey. I can remember 2-3 years ago going out on a trip somewhere and stopping in an old bookstore or thrift shop and finding that record that you've been looking all over creation for, and here it is for 25 cents in the discount bin.
Yeah, somebody sees you buying a very old record, they wonder, what is this guy buying?
Yeah, what is this fruitcake doing? But it's not so much it is a passion for music. It's more of what do you call it? There's a word for it, and it escapes me right off the top of my head, but
look it up in one of your songs, it'll come up.
Well, I can remember one day a story was, I used to teach high school, and it was just one of those nasty days. I don't remember what, it was just one of those days you just, and I got home and I was rummaging through the pile and I found this record. Side 1, I should drink more. Side 2, I should care less.
It was maybe for the teachers back then, when in that era.
Yeah, but it was just the timing of the two events. It was just I have no idea what the song was. Didn't care. It was just the titles of.
I never heard that kind of story, but I enjoyed it.
But in it, I have it someplace. But part of it is I have to go back and find it now.
Yeah, but you recorded it and it's available digitally now.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Blog Talk Radio, and I'm not sure how to do this, but for those who are interested, if you go to my site on Blog Talk Radio, and it's Forgotten Music on 78 RPM Records, I'm pretty sure it's anyway, if you go through the link, it'll give you all the episodes. Or if you email me at OSCSSW, I'll email you the link, and you can go back through all the shows going back.
What was that email address? Because I didn't get the at.
OSCSSW@juno.com. JUNO.com. Okay. And I will say this with a cravat. I'm relearning how to do all this, so don't expect an instantaneous response. But because I'm relearning how to do all this stuff, which is really part of the joy, because it keeps us active.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the important part.
Well, I know you're running out of time, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it's quite all right. It was, again, this is an R&D effort on my part to actually do this, because now I'm going to take this, put it on the hard drive, add some pictures to it, if you will, or at least try, and then put it up on YouTube. And again, for the process of how to do that, that's what's important.
Well, you're motivating and giving the formula so that others can follow in your footsteps.
Yeah. Well, again, I've had people tell me, and I've had people tell me that is the stupidest thing anybody's ever done. I can do a better job. I said, okay, show me what you got. And then all of a sudden you never hear from them again, you know? I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to be any kind of anything. I'm doing this out of the sheer joy that I enjoy it. And if I'm doing something wrong, you know, what can I say?
What can you say? Okay, well, thank you for having me on your show.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, you're a man with talent and, you know, connections all over the world. And, you know, again, you're the guy who started all this craziness. So I'll never forget that. You know, you can do that. You know, who's gonna stop you? You know, and again, it's just one of those things that just I enjoy, you know. It's just a lot of fun. You know, and these records, like I say, you know, people, you can get these for free. I mean, I've gone to the bookstores and they're dumping them by the trash can loads, you know.
Wow.
Because again, they made bazillions of them. And unless you have the one record from the one guy that's worth money, the rest of them aren't, you know. It's the same with LPs, the vinyl. They sound different than digitally remastered brand new music. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm running out of time. Anyway, so Armando, again, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. You have any questions for me now that I rattled on for a half hour?
Well, thank you very much for having me as a guest on your show and for this launch. I mean, I got a lot out of it, and I look forward to seeing your future programs on this.
Okay. With that, I think I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to close this. So if I suddenly disappear, I apologize to the audience out there. I have to go back and re-edit this and kind of clean it up. Armando, again, thank you so very much. And feel free to share this with any other half-wit out there who, you know, wonders what kind of fruitcake does this kind of, you know, I know just the guy.
There you go. Now I feel good. I feel like part of the club here.
Yeah. Well, you know, you never know what people, where you're going to reach, you know. So, all right, Armando, again, thank you so very much. You have any other questions, sir?
No, sir. I know how to get a hold of you. Thank you for giving me your email, and
Okay.
I'll get a hold of you.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so very much. My name is DcHahn, CEO, founder, chief cook and bottle washer of S3 Productions and Forgotten Music on 78 RPM Records. You can find me on Facebook. That's probably the best place. With that, y'all have a good one.